Pete Works here, coming to you once again with One Piece chapter 1160 entitled The God Valley Incident. So we do get to see the incident in this chapter, but first we have the 42nd installment of the Yamato cover story, in which he has made it back to the Flower Capital and is at the shrine of Odin and his fallen comrades, namely Izo and Ashura Doji. So I'm wondering if this is the end of the journey, and from here, is she going to go out to sea? Or maybe that carpenter guy, the guy with the nails in his nose, maybe he has constructed a ship for her and she'll go out to sea, perhaps with Page One and Ulti. Because I doubt, in being a sheltered child, that she has much sailing experience. So it'll be interesting to see who actually guides her out into the ocean. Because I can't imagine after this she stays in Wano. It just doesn't make sense to me. Because if she stays in Wano right now, that really doesn't give Momonosuke the opportunity to grow as a shogun. And seeing as how he has the powers of Kaido, I think it would be very important for him to grow and develop and maybe awaken his devil fruit if he can, which I think he can, and be something Kaido simply was not. So I think that would be important. Now, I wonder too, is at least Big Mom going to escape from the volcano? Because I could see her escaping over Kaido. Both could. I could just see her over Kaido. Because she still seems more lore important than Kaido. At least to me. So, we get to see, going into our chapter, the Davy clan. And like I thought, there are multiple people who are part of the Davy clan. We really only get to see a few. We see Blackbeard's mother, who does look like the blonde woman a little bit. And I heard people talking about this. The blonde woman that Kurozumi Higurashi turns into, where she was explaining to Orochi what devil fruits could do, because you know she had the clone fruit back in the day, and she turned into this weird blonde woman. So that blonde woman could have been Blackbeard's mother. I could believe it, but we'll never really know until that's confirmed. We don't even have a name for Blackbeard's mother yet, so I don't know. But of the Davy Clan members that we are allowed to see, we see a big dude wearing a straw hat with a beard. So I wonder what the straw hat means to the Davy Clan. And furthermore, where did Roger get his straw hat from? Because we don't know a lot about Roger still, to be honest with you. We don't even know why he has a Jolly Roger that looks nothing like him for the majority of his life. I made a video about that. But continuing, the Celestial Dragons ask if members of the clan are also Buccaneers. I find that very interesting. I don't think they're Buccaneers. I think there's something else that's kind of similar in being a mixed race, but we'll get to that in another video. This leads us to Dragon tending to the mother of Shanks and Shamrock, as she apparently just succumbs from her injuries, and he goes off to rescue her children. That's when a Celestial Dragon announces that there are 150 rare rabbits to hunt down, and there are 13 super rare rabbits. So Kuma probably is one of those super rare rabbits, seeing as how he's a Buccaneer. But who are the other 12? Are the other 12 a part of very elaborate and hidden races? We don't know. That's interesting. Will the hidden 12 be actual characters? We don't know. But yeah, the events that follow just show a bunch of Celestial Dragons hunting down civilians, and they all are riding these weird birds who have not been named yet. I don't know. We covered this in a video talking about Shanks and his crew and how they all have names relating to alcohol, and this bird does look like the weird emu thing that's on the Shanky's whip bottle. So go watch that video. It's a good video. But yes, people are being slaughtered one by one. We cut back to Mary Joie, and the Celestial Dragons who stayed are watching the events unfold. But in watching the events, we see the name Figure Land, but it's made plural, as to say Figure Lands, which means that there are more than one member of the family. So I always thought after the anime popped off and we see the colors of that one woman that's with Figure and Garling, I thought that she could possibly be a Figureland as well because she's the only other blonde character. So they may be related. They might be related. But then we have a new family called the Bevette family. We don't know any members from that. And of course, we have the Manmayer family, which compose of Gunko and that weird Pizza Hat girl who has gone unnamed. And I guess from 1159, they are related because they were talking to one another. I don't know how people know that she's a Manmayer, but she's a Manmayer. From back then, Gunko had the arrow fruit and she's using that to strike people. So that's interesting. And back then, she still had the mouth covering, which is weird that she keeps covering her mouth, whereas the other girl has her tongue sticking out. So they're opposites in that way. I found that interesting. She's not wearing a hat right now. And she has long hair and her outfit looks more fancy, as if she's a proper military soldier of some sort. Very odd, very odd. I wonder what made her change her outfit. But Summers is doing devious acts, killing a son and father, which leads to Dragon just looking at the carnage taking place. But while Ivankov is giving his speech, Dragon sees a celestial dragon, which that's some funny wordplay. But yes, Dragon sees a celestial dragon about to shoot Ivankov, and he shoots him in the back instead. So like father, like son, we cannot let celestial dragons do devious acts. Very cool, Dragon. I think this is the first active thing Dragon has done in the entire manga up to this point. Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about that until now. This is the first actual action Dragon does, which is quite interesting that he does something to save his future comrades. And excuse me, no, the celestial dragon was about to shoot Kuma looking at the scope. So yeah, but that's when the Rocks Pirates pull up. And one thing I didn't really notice beforehand, they seem to have a corpse as the figurehead of their ship, which is a grand contrast to the Oro Jackson headed by Roger, because he has mermaids on the front of his ship. So that's a little weird. But we find out that, yeah, most of the Rocks Pirates are just big gooners, as most of them want to save Shocky first. But some interesting characterization comes about here as Captain John, shows that, like how he dies, he's obsessed with treasure even now, and thinks treasure will be the key for Shocky falling for him, which is quite odd. Barble doesn't really seem to care. However, oddly, Newgate, Big Stoic Whitebeard, cares, as he tries to cover it up by saying, "Suit yourselves, I'm just here to save a friend. That said, if she does fall for me, I wouldn't complain." Horrible. Whitebeard, you gooner. But then, Stussy is offended by this and says, "How dare you, Whitebeard? How could you say that? I thought we were a thing." That's funny. That is funny. Ali Gloriosa is more concerned about Roger and how he'll be impressed with her if she saves Shocky, even though they're sisters, because they both come from Amazon Lily. How weird. Then Streusen, whom I keep forgetting is a Rocks Pirate, mentions Wang Ji didn't even leave the island. She'll probably ban him from the bar. So it's funny that he had his finger on the trigger back then. He's super perceptive. I don't think he knows that Wang Ji sold her out, but the fact that he's thinking about him now is interesting. And then, of course, Big Mom's a girl's girl, which is so interesting. I didn't expect that type of character development from her. But yeah, because she says, "How stupid can you get? Heaven and earth could flip, and Shocky still wouldn't give any of you losers the time of day." I like Big Mom here. Linlin is cool. Linlin stays cool. Gloriosa is always a big hater. Oh, that's so funny. Gloriosa is just a big hater. And Big Mom's a girl's girl. Never would have expected it. Very cool. Of course, Kato's just concerned about devil fruits and asking his big sister to get him devil fruits. Brother, you know what? It shows you that people don't read too much, because Kaito was never cool. Kaito was never cool. Even back then, he's like, "Big sister, could you get the devil fruits for me, please?" It's so funny. It's so funny how bad he is. And then what's crazy about it, he gets one of the strongest mythical Zoans in the series, doesn't doesn't even awaken it and gets clowned on by a cartoon man. It's very funny. That's why I'm saying I could see Big Mom coming back before Kaido, because Kaido is so Dunsky, and on top of that, it seems like the narrative is setting up for Momonosuke to be what Kaido was not. I keep saying it because it doesn't make sense otherwise. So yeah, Kaido's a lamer, bruh. Big Mama on top. Kaido is so lame. But yeah, they pull up and start wreaking havoc, which leads to us finding out that yes, Dragon did secure the 2 babies who are not crying in the events taking place here, which is interesting. But that leads to the Roger Pirates pulling up, and as I'm recording this video right now, I saw on Reddit that someone made a very interesting observation. When you see the spread of the Roger Pirates, if you look behind Roger directly, there's a guy who does look like Douglas Bullet. Now, I don't know how the time is being conveyed here, because when Bullet's a young man, he's bald, and as a young adult, he gets the glorious long mane of blonde hair. So I don't know, because he doesn't get like a ponytail until the events of Stampede when he's like a full-on adult. So it's really hard to tell if this is Bullet or not. I could believe Bullet is canon. A lot of movie stuff has become canon recently. Like, well, Shiki was always canon, but like the animals from Strong World are all canon. So I don't know. I really don't know. Very possible though. But yes, the Roger Pirates have pulled up to save Shaki. That's when we get a interesting display of a lot of Holy Knights. I don't know if these are all the Holy Knights that are currently active, but we get a lot of them. And that blonde woman is taking center stage with Garling, which again makes me think that she's a Figureland. Her sword is interesting though. It's more like a spear tip than a sword like Garling's. The Man Mayor Pizza Hat girl is a gunslinger, apparently. Then we have Sommers, of course, with the weapon he's always had. I'm not sure if that's a sword or a bat. I still don't know. But we have the cow skull dude, don't know his name. And we have 2 very large people, both of which who seem to be Onis, as they both have horns. So we have 1 man and 1 woman. A lot of conversation has been focused on the woman, however, because she does look like characters we've seen before. She has 2-toned hair like Inazuma, and wears glasses often like Inazuma. A character I think she looks like as well is Monster Gun Vito of the Fire Tank Pirates, because he had very large hands and he too wore glasses all the time. So I don't really know. She does have a cigar though, which is interesting because you don't see a lot of females with cigars or cigarettes in the series. So it's interesting that she is smoking a cigar. Now, the guy looks familiar. Like, he looks like a Oni variation of Tom, the fishman. So I don't know what's up there, because he has the sharp teeth and the big beard, but he is an Oni from the looks of it because of the horns. So it's weird that we have Kaido here, who is an Oni, and now these 2. So I wonder, are there going to be name reveals later of these 2? Because I find them fascinating. But that leads into the Rocks Pirates dishing out some punishment to the Marines. We see Shiki and Newgate take center stage, but then Garp shows up with Bogart, and this catches the attention of Xebec and Roger, and the Marines are relieved because they have been saved. So father and son are on the same island, Garp and Dragon. That is very, very interesting. So perhaps Dragon, seeing his father act on the behalf of people doing these horrific acts, could lead him to quit the Marines. I think this might have been it, because this is the only significant event that Dragon has been a part of in the series so far, and the only time he's ever done anything in the series so far. So this has to be the turning point for him. I wonder if we're going to see Bogart in action, because he's there, he's right there. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's the end of our chapter. We do have a break next week, though, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Big events usually come up after a big number pops off. So we'll probably get even more significant information in 1161, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm very, very excited for the continuation of the cover story and what's going to happen during the God Valley incident. But with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Waxy.